Hello.
We're back. And today we're going to tell you a couple ways that we are saving money here in Portugal and a few ways that we're not, or we don't know yet. But we're going to share with you our experiences on several categories of spending here in Portugal. But first we want to give you a little update on our channel. Up to this point we've been sharing with you our journey of coming to Portugal, why we did it, and how it's going. And we're going to continue to do that. We have a couple things coming up, like our CEF appointments,
health insurance,
all those little details that we're going to share. We're going to share our monthly expenses once we kind of have a better breakdown of that. So look forward to that. And then also part of the reason we moved here is that because you can easily travel around Europe. And so we're going to be sharing as we explore Portugal, as we explore the nearby countries and stuff like that. The reason we're here is because we can afford it from our travel website that we have. So that's what our job is to travel. So we're going to be sharing that with you.
Yeah, we're really excited to show you guys some, we really focus on and specialize in couples travel and romantic travel, adventure travel. So if that interests you, or even if it doesn't, please subscribe to our channel.
Yes. But today we're going to talk to you about saving money. And so by moving here, we've been able to save a lot of money, which has allowed us to be self-employed and not dependent on two incomes from the US.
So we don't want you to think that what we're saying is if you move to Portugal, you will save money. There's so much nuance. There's so much, depending on where you're coming from in the United States, what your lifestyle was like, if you have kids, versus coming to all different areas of Portugal they vary in cost, and we are in one of the most expensive areas of Portugal, but we also come from a fairly expensive city, Austin. So, it's all very relative to us, but we want to share with you guys kind of where we're coming from, in case that gives you some estimation of where you might be if you move here.
Yeah. So first is housing. That's a big difference. So in the US, we had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on the outskirts of the Austin city limits. We had a mortgage, which was about $2,000 a month. And then of course there's maintenance costs on top of that. Here, we have moved to one of the most expensive areas in Portugal, which is Lisbon, and within there, one of the nicer neighborhoods. And we are paying 1,300 euros, or a little over $1,500 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. So, we're getting less here, but we have access to this great neighborhood. And it's kind of like if you were to move from a suburb to like San Francisco, where the real estate's going to be higher there. But overall, we're saving over $500 a month in rent.
Yeah, what I want to say is that I think if our goal here was exclusively to save money, we also would have kept that house and rented it out, used it as a rental property. But our goal was not just to save money by moving here. We wanted to improve our quality of life. We didn't want to be tied down to a rental property in a city where my parents had moved away from, and we just felt like it was a better life experience for us to sell the house. And it was, and it was a really hot market, and most people know that Austin was kind of crazy during that time. So so just putting it out there, our goal is not exclusively money. You may make a different choice if you want to keep a rental property in the United States. That would save you even more money.
Yeah. And when you move here, if you want to go live at the beach, if you want to live in a bigger place, you can spend so much more than we are. Or if you want to save a lot of money, you can go to a smaller town and save a lot of money that way.
Yeah.
But next is transportation. So in the US, we both had a car. They were very economical. Michelle had a Honda Civic. I had a Honda, what did I have? HRV,
mm-hmm.
Which is the smallest SUV ever. It's not really SUV. Anyway, very economical. And I estimate conservatively that we were spending $800 a month to maintain both vehicles. So that meant gas about once a week when we were commuting before COVID. And then the cost of depreciation once we paid it off, or when we weren't paying it off, when we were paying it off, our monthly payment. So about $800 a month for 2 vehicles. Here we have the bus, which is €1.85. We have the trolley, which is €3, which is actually more expensive than Uber. But we have Uber, which is very affordable. And because everything in the city is very compact, you don't have to go far. So Ubers are very affordable. And then on top of that, we have our day trips where we'll take the train to a nearby town. And we have rental cars. So because prices are crazy right now, we're not renting a car too often. But once they go back to normal-ish, then we'd like to be able to rent a car, go for a couple days at a nearby town or things like that. So for the last 30 days, we spent about 60 euros on Uber. We haven't been using the bus that much, but I think we'll probably be around 20 euros once we get the hang of it a little more. The rental car, I don't know how to estimate it, but I said about 100 euros a month. That would give us a couple days for us to do like 1 day trip a month using a rental car, but I hope prices go down so that way we can do it more often or for longer periods. For day trips, I'm saying around 30 euros a month because we went to Setúbal last week and it was 10 euros for a round trip on the train and then 7 euros for a ferry once we got there. So overall, I'm saying conservatively, we were spending about $800 a month in the US, and putting a bunch of padding in there, I think at most we'll touch 250 euros a month. And that's if we're taking day trips to rent a car and not walking as much as we usually do, because in our day-to-day, we walk to go get a croissant for breakfast, we walk to go to a restaurant, we walk to go to
The mall, the grocery store.
Because of our location. So huge savings there.
Yeah. The next thing is food. Now, there's going to be a lot of variability here, but generally speaking, we think that we are probably going to be saving money on food. Produce is not only higher quality, but it's less expensive here. I picked up a loaf of fresh baked bread at the grocery store. It was €1.50, I think. So generally speaking, that stuff is less expensive. Even when we're at restaurants, I mean, we are in a more expensive area of town, not the most expensive, but more expensive, and the cost is it's less expensive than many of the restaurants that we went to in Austin. But on top of that, sales tax is baked into the price, so that's not going to be added on your bill after. And then the culture here is not to tip 15 to 20%. The culture here is like if it's really good, you tip €1 or €2. So even if the price on the menu were the same, you're still saving 20%. On your menu. We did look into, there's a restaurant that exists in the United States. It also exists here in Lisbon, Fogo de Chão, which is a Brazilian churrascaria like steakhouse. In Austin, the all you can eat buffet meal was $58. And here, the most expensive, they have different tiered versions of it here, but the most expensive was €28. So significantly less expensive here for that specific restaurant. I don't know that that's going to be the case for everyone, but.
And there's just to give you another idea, here in our neighborhood, there's an Italian place, which I had a seafood risotto a couple nights ago. It was less than 10 euros. And for that in the US, it would easily be like $18 for all the seafood that was in it. And of course, these aren't meals we're eating every day. And the average Portugal meal, you can find the cafes having even more affordable meals. But we just wanted to give you some kind of apples to apples-ish comparisons. One way that you can spend more on groceries is if you try to eat everything like an American. So cheddar cheese, for example, is a little more expensive, but we wanted grilled cheese.
Peanut butter is a similar situation.
More expensive, but it's readily available.
Yeah.
Or I have a childhood memory of Rice Krispie treats. So that's what I want every now and then, like a comfort food. And marshmallows are very hard to find, but we found them, but they are easily 2 or 3 times the price. So of course, we want to adapt to the Portuguese way of doing things, but in moving here and making those changes, we want to feel comfortable too, and we're willing to splurge. And those are some places where you're going to spend a little extra if you make those choices.
But I have to emphasize how exciting it was for us to find these marshmallows. We've been trying for the month that we've been here. We thought it was a lost cause. We almost asked our friends to bring a suitcase full of marshmallows when they come in a couple of months, but we did find them. So
there you go.
Miracles happen. Okay, the next thing is health insurance. If you have existed in the United States, you are aware of how expensive it is to have health insurance in the United States. And the benefit of having that expensive health insurance is that hopefully you won't go bankrupt when you have a health emergency. But TBD.
Yeah. So in the US, we were most recently both on Michelle's healthcare plan through her work, which was around $150 every 2 weeks. So $300 a month. And like Michelle was saying, in the US, you have healthcare insurance. Maybe you understand it. Most likely you don't. And you go in, you get your healthcare service, whatever you need, and you just wait for the bill anxiously until you see whatever surprise is there waiting for you. And if something bad happens, you could be looking at thousands of dollars for like a trip to the ER. You guys know it's very expensive.
So you're paying a monthly fee through your work, and your work is paying the other half. And then that's paying towards a deductible, which until you meet that deductible, you're paying still lots of money for all of your healthcare. And then once you meet that deductible, like, oh, it's not so painful anymore. But at this point, you've paid thousands of dollars to reach that point.
And also, everyone's different. So Michelle did have a job one time that covered all of her insurance.
100%. So I paid nothing for anything.
Yeah. So that happens too. So we also wanted to be self-employed, and looking into that, the quotes were like between $600 and $800 a month to have these enormous deductibles where nothing would be covered until you hit like $8,000 deductible or $15,000 deductible. So that's what we were looking at in order for us to both go self-employed and work on our websites. America. American health insurance.
And I will also say that the healthcare quality is ranked lower in the United States than it is in Portugal. Is a key reason for us to move here, because we know that we have this idea that paying more means higher quality, and in this case, unfortunately, it doesn't.
Yeah. So for healthcare in Portugal, and we understand it's not perfect here, but they have a public healthcare system that we can use once we get our residency card here in a month or two. But as someone who has immigrated to Portugal, you are required to get private healthcare insurance. And for us, it's going to be about 60 euros each to get private healthcare. So about 120 euros a month. And that gives us great benefits like a deductible. If we need an x-ray, it's €7.50. In the US, I don't even know if you get to know what it's going to be until you get there.
Surprise. But I would guess hundreds.
Yeah, if you're going to go to a specialist, you're going to pay 15 euros here. And then let's just say you max out all your insurance and they're not going to cover something, you always have the public healthcare option to go back on. So you don't have to worry about going bankrupt if you have a healthcare emergency. So we'll be saving money.
Lots of money.
And it's just nice to feel good that knowing, regardless what happens, like I can afford healthcare here.
Yeah.
Even if it was totally out of pocket, things are much more affordable here. And some people, like I've in the groups that we're in, people will say like, oh yeah, well I have this coverage from the US, the TRICARE for the military people. And they'll be like, yeah, I have it, but it'd be paperwork to do it. So I just pay out of pocket for like, to go to the doctor and pay 20 euros, whatever it is. I don't know too much about that, but that's what I'm hearing. So here we have affordable healthcare.
Yeah, it makes it really easy to be self-employed. It takes a lot of stress out of kind of the day-to-day and potential healthcare costs, like potentially having a family or whatever, become much more reasonable with this financial burden being significantly reduced. So that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, cell phones. We are saving money on cell phones. I don't think we talked too much about what we are doing for our cell phones. So we both have iPhones. We brought those unlocked from the US. We ported our US numbers into an app called iPlum, and it's what?
It's like $4 for 2,000 credits, and one credit is one message. So I don't think either of us have even used 100 credits yet. So probably like $4 a year is what I'm saying.
And we kept that phone number just because you have to, like, you get text messages to like verify your login for Google and Facebook and whatever. And especially with our business being digital, we didn't want to get locked out of anything. So we kept those numbers, but then we got cell phone plans here. We've tried we started with Mayo, but now we're using Vodafone. And that's been good. So we have a plan that I think gets us 15 gigs.
Yeah, it's 15 gigs, and it was a promotion when we got it. So it's like the 5 gig plan, but we got a promotion, so it's 15 gigs for us. And that is going to be about 45 euros for both of us. Whereas in the US, we were paying, I think, 120 for AT&T for like a good data plan and all that. Additionally, we got a hotspot. So if we ever are getting close to that 15 gigs, then we can use our hotspot, which is about €1 a day. And we can take that hotspot anywhere in Europe. So if we go travel somewhere and they don't have good Wi-Fi, we'll have our hotspot to take care of what data.
One funny thing about us having got this cell phone plan is that you get a significant cost reduction if you commit to a 2-year phone plan. And yes, we did sell our house and all of our things in Austin to move to Portugal, but then when they put us on the spot for like So are you going to be here for 2 years? We had like a serious, like, I don't know, like, so we love a good deal. And we also are very commitment phobic. So we were both like, I don't know about this. How long do we think we're going to be here? Ultimately, the math worked out. It just made sense for us to to commit to a 2-year plan. They also said that there's a chance that because potentially we'd be moving back to the United States and Vodafone isn't available in the United States, that they wouldn't charge us to pay for the remainder of our contract. So it's possible that it's lower risk, but regardless, we were just being dumb.
It just gives you a little glimpse into our quirkiness of the fact we're willing to commit to move to Portugal, but then once we get there,
cell phone plan.
A cell phone plan for 2 years is scary.
That's us. Okay, another way that we are going to be saving money is on travel. So we mentioned, like, we are primarily travel writers. We have a couples travel website. So one of the things we're really looking forward to is being able to take advantage of all the amazing, beautiful things that there are to see in Europe and Africa and surrounding areas. Travel in the US, it was hard for us to oftentimes get out of Austin because Austin is so central Texas. And then, I don't know, it's expensive to get out. And flying in between countries in the EU or in Europe in general is just, like, by standard, less expensive than in the US.
So, like, I took a look at a couple destinations. For us to go to Paris, we were looking around 65, 69 euros for a round trip flight. For London, it's more like 79 just for like the days that I was looking, just to give you an idea. Whereas in the US, to get a good deal like that, I love finding a good deal and I would find them, but it was a lot of work. And then you're on like Spirit Air or like Frontier, which Frontier is hit or miss. Anyway, of course, it's complex because there's baggage fees and all that other stuff. But in general, it's going to be less expensive for us to hop over to another country and explore for a week or a weekend or whatever. Whereas going to Portland from Austin or to New York from Austin, it's going to be $200 or $300 round trip easily.
That's kind of one of our like best tips for travel or saving money when you travel in general from the US is that if you want to go to Europe, if there's a specific place you want to go, we have had good luck finding just the least expensive flight to somewhere kind of nearby. So we wanted to go, I think we were originally trying to get to Spain. We got those flights to Ireland.
I don't remember.
Okay, we were trying to get somewhere, but we ended up in Ireland. And we hadn't really intended to go to Ireland, but because the flights were less expensive, we were like, oh, we'll just spend a couple of days here. And it ended up being one of our favorite places in the world. So it's a good adventure opportunity, and it's also can save you money if you just get to Europe on whatever's the least expensive. And then travel in between Europe is less expensive. So you can often save money getting where you want to go that way.
But talking about entertainment, you're going to save money there. So I went and saw Black Widow the other day, and it was €7 to see a movie versus in the US, it's like $12 or $15 for a ticket these days. And here, if you want to go see a movie, you get to watch it in English usually with subtitles in Portuguese. So that's a small example, but entertainment in general is going to be more affordable. Looking at concerts, they're going to be more affordable. I looked at one example being Aerosmith. They have a tour where I think the first stop is Lisbon, but the price range on those tickets was between €59 and €95. Whereas for the Boston stop in the US, the cheapest ticket is $129, going up to $260. So that's probably the biggest extreme you'll find, like this huge gap in price. But we looked at other concerts as well. And they were all more affordable here in Lisbon, so we're excited to take advantage of that.
We do keep our Netflix and Hulu accounts in the United States for entertainment in the house. We use a VPN, Surfshark, how much is Surfshark, do you know?
It's like $2 a month or something.
It works great, especially with Netflix. We've had no problems. Hulu's a little buggy with it, but we've still been able to use it. But also our Netflix accounts work in Portugal as well. There's just different copyright, like availability of content here as compared to the US. So that's why we use Surfshark for that.
Yeah.
But that's pretty standard there.
Museums are going to be more affordable here. You're looking at like €4 to €6 usually, whereas in the US, it can be, $25, $30 to go see art museum. Or we went to that one place, that house in Asheville.
Oh yeah, the Biltmore.
The Biltmore estate was like $90 to tour, whereas here we could tour a mansion for like €4. So
and the mansions
or a palace
cooler.
for like €6.
Yeah.
So those are going to be a bit more affordable.
Yeah, lots of cool things to see here for less expensive. And then other activities that you can save money on here. So we've talked a little bit in previous videos about fitness opportunities. Dan has been interested in swimming because there's a community swimming pool. How much is that going to be?
So it's 18 euros a month, and that includes a weekly class. So it comes down to like $5 a class,
which is awesome. We've looked into like nicer gyms, which we didn't really realize were like nicer, more prestige gyms, but they're so all inclusive. They've got like tennis courts and swimming classes and dance classes and massage therapists, like whatever. They've got all the things. If you were paying for a prestige experience in the US, something like Soul Cycle or something like that, like easily 100 plus. And here it was 60 euro a month for like the nice places to go, the more comprehensive places to go, which for a variety of reasons are not right for us right now. And I think we'll probably go with probably personal trainers that are like available in the park.
Yeah, there's a lot of group lessons at the park. Anytime we're there, there's always like someone doing a group yoga class or whatever. So that's probably what we're gonna go with.
And I think the class, if you didn't buy a pass on its own, was 10 euro for a class, which is comparable to some things you would find in the US, but you can buy passes that will be less expensive than that. Yeah. And then music classes, I talked about this a little bit. I'm paying about half as much for private voice lessons here as I was in the United States. In Austin, my private lessons, I think were about, let's just say $200 a month for 4 30-minute classes. Here, I would be paying 80 euro a month for 30-minute classes. I will say that like the music, like the theory behind it or like the emphasis behind it is different. So it's not like a one-to-one comparison necessarily, but I'm loving it. It's great. So I'm really excited about, like, I feel like, oh, we can take piano classes, or we can take, like they have like these combo classes where you can get into a jazz ensemble and stuff like that. And because the cost is lower, I feel like it's more accessible for us. Which is really great. And then
treatments.
Oh yeah.
And, I can't talk too much to this, but you can get a massage here and it's gonna be a little more affordable. Or like for example, pedicure. I've had a couple pedicures in my life. And here they're gonna be more affordable for sure, but you're not gonna get like the massage chair or like the long soak of your feet thing. It's just a little different. And Michelle can talk more about that.
Yeah, I think across the board, generally speaking, prices are lower. I will say, like in Austin, I looked into getting like a lash tint, and it was like $100 in Austin to do that. Here, I saw anywhere between 35, 40, 45 euro to get a lash tint done. They're like a lash lift. The big difference to me is how difficult the entry is to finding a place that you're going to trust. And then levels of professionalism are just different. Like a benefit of Portugal is that people are more relaxed and more chill. And kind of like the downside of that is that, like, if I contact a location, they're not always going to contact me back. Prices are not readily available online, so you oftentimes have to like catch them on WhatsApp to text them and see if they're going to give you that information. You might make a time, and maybe that time will work. Like maybe they will like be there and be open, or maybe they won't. So it's not as easy to just say like, oh, I want to find it. Like I've moved to a new area of Texas and I want to get my nails done. So let me look online for something that has good reviews and I can see the prices online and the photos look good. So then I just call and I make an appointment and then I go in. Like that's what you would get if you try to do that in Austin. Here, it's more like, please, someone show me where I can trust. So I feel like I'm going to be relying a lot more on like word of mouth, and haven't found anything like across the board. I've had a harder time finding stuff. So if you are in Lisbon or have been to Lisbon and you have places you recommend for any beauty treatments whatsoever, I'm all ears. Please let me know, because I think I want to go to places that like people can vouch for and people can trust. Especially because I don't speak Portuguese yet. I don't know if I'll be able to like advocate for myself, or I will be so overwhelmed with general discomfort that like I won't be able to
enjoy and relax.
Exactly.
So it's like the cost will be lower, but your experience is going to be different.
Yes.
And if you want the American experience that you're used to, then you have to go to like the nice hotels where you're going to pay American or more prices.
Yeah, exactly. So in some places where Did we talk about bills? Utilities?
We're going to talk about that now.
Oh, great.
So utilities, we're not experts on utilities. I mean, we're not experts on any of this, but we don't have much experience with utilities here yet. But I do know that the average kilowatt hour cost for energy in the United States is 13 cents, whereas it is about 25 cents here in Portugal. So almost double the price of energy. However, the way you live here is different. So you don't use as much energy. It's a temperate climate, so you don't need AC, and then all the time. And then there's not central AC usually. So we have AC units in our different rooms. So if you're not in a room, you're not cooling that room. And there's no dryer for your clothes. So you wash all your clothes.
The refrigerator is smaller.
The appliances are smaller. So you're not going to use as much energy just naturally because of that. So we think it's going to be about a wash, where our high months in the summer in the US are going to be similar to our high costs in the summer. And then the winter, we really don't know because we kind of like things colder, but we're sure we're going to need the heater every now and then.
We've heard that many places don't even have heaters, and that insulation can be pretty bad in areas in different apartments. So even if you did have a heater, like maybe it's not going to stay as cold as you want it to. Yeah. Luckily, we have a fireplace, so I think that's going to come in handy as well. But
and we also have our heater AC unit. It does dehumidify as well, and we hear that's like a necessity because the humidity,
like moldy,
it gets kind of, it can get moldy and feel colder than it is because it's the more humid.
Yeah. So we'll keep you posted on exactly what our bills turn out to be. But we're thinking it's going to probably be somewhere in a wash situation.
Hopefully.
Yes. Okay. A couple of areas where we are pretty sure we're not going to be saving any money. The first one is clothing. So, there are actually a lot of really inexpensive clothing options here. If you are not particular about quality or fabric or stuff like that, there are a lot of really low cost options. So you will find clothes. There are plenty of clothes here. Where we don't think we're going to be saving money is that I'm more particular about fit and quality and sustainability. And because of that, anything that we have started finding places that I think will be our resources for finding clothes that we like, but they are more expensive than what I would look for in the United States. And then last are beauty products. Number one, we're including this in beauty products, is sunscreen. Sunscreen is super important to me. I have really cancer prone skin. And so I wear sunscreen every single day. And when we got here and looked at the price of sunscreen, whatever was in the grocery store was significantly more expensive.
Yeah, it was like 25 euros for a small little guy, and I was like, oh no, we should have packed some sunscreen because we're gonna go through it. But then I think the next store I went into, it was the same price but half off. So there was a sale on, and since then we see sunscreen sales everywhere. It's like 40 to 50% off at the grocery store.
So it's still more expensive, but if you find it on sale, it's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, it's no big deal. We got this. Just a little more expensive. We're good with that.
Similarly with cosmetics, things seem to be more expensive here for comparable reasons as clothing. They do have a lot of American brands here, and so if they have a supplier that's here, it doesn't tend to increase the price. But if it's just something that has been imported here, it's definitely going to be more expensive. So that is not going to save money on cosmetics, so that's fine. And then supplements, they don't really have here. It's just not the same. They don't, and I think, as is true with anything, if you are particular about either a brand or a specific quality or ingredient or whatever, you're not going to have the variety availability here. So if you're specific about that kind of stuff, I'm particular about my deodorant and stuff I put on my face. And so it's not that you won't find things to use or find things at a reasonable price, but if you're particular about a certain quality of something or a brand of something, you probably either want to bring it or expect to pay more. And I've been able to find all of my brands, everything that I like to use in the US, almost everything I've been able to source here. I just haven't wanted to because it's more expensive. So.
And you mentioned supplements. So supplements here, they have them, but they're much more expensive. So if your vitamin C, if it's $10 in the US, they're going to have like a vitamin C supplement here for like 18.25. It's going to be a big difference for supplements. So I bring those, and then bring anything else you're particular on, at least to give you enough time to figure out where you're going to get the Portuguese version of that.
If you're an adult child like me who prefers their supplement in gummy form, definitely bring those because they don't do that here. So
there you go. Those are several areas that we're going to save money here in Portugal, a few that we're not. And let us know if you have any questions.
Make sure you're following us on YouTube so you can follow along with all of our adventures. And we'd really love if you guys connected with us on Instagram as well, at Honeymoon Always.
Yeah, you'll be able to see how the Rice Krispie treats turn out.
You can see, we actually found 2 different types of marshmallows because we were so excited. So we'll try them all. Stay tuned with us, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye.